So first things first, I understand you're a vegan.
Yes.
You've been so since 2014.
Yeah.
But I understand that your favorite food might predate that.
Yes. Became a vegetarian in the 90s,
Okay.
like 92, 93, a vegan in 14. And I've had to sort of figure out ways of some of my favorite food to veganize them. Yeah.
And so what is your favorite food?
I mean, I have tons of favorites, but like if you want to know there's something that sings to my heart, it's a lot of my mom's cooking. And she made cornbread stuffing for Thanksgiving. A lot of my Thanksgiving foods are sweet potatoes, candied yams, mac and cheese. And so I've had to, over the years, think about how to do that. And I had a vegan Thanksgiving at my house in Newark years ago, which was one of the favorite meals I've had because I was able to get veganized a lot of versions of my mom's favorites.
So have you veganized that cornbread stuffing?
Yes.
There's eggs in the cornbread. Was there sausage in it too?
No sausage.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
All right. Do you have the recipe?
My mom has never written it down. So the way that I've done it before, and I want Alexis to learn the recipe, is my mom sort of coaching us through it. So that's how my brother and I have recreated it over the years. But I'm dying for Alexis to learn with me so that we can make it for our children.
Well, let's make that a date. Let me come over and have your mom phone in and let's have us walk all three of us through it.
Would that be fun?
I would
love that. I would love
that too. I know that you and I share an optimism about the future and how we rebound from this moment, from this period that we're going through. What are we doing? What are you doing in Congress? What can Congress do? And what can everyday Americans do to make that happen?
Well, I think first and foremost, don't lose sight of the foundation we stand on. I mean, you know a lot about history, but you could pick any period in American history, and those generations saw unbelievable crises. And so our history is just a screaming testimony to the achievement of impossible things against impossible odds. And if you look back, I mean, my mom was born, you couldn't even get a credit card. My grandma was born, women couldn't even vote.
Right.
There's so many really oppressive hurdles that we as a society have overcome again and again and again and again. So why shouldn't we, in our very DNA, have that same ability now?
Yeah.
And so I get a lot of strength from, in today's fights, from just being informed by, my mom who did civil rights, from a sit-in to the March on Washington. Their very stories fuel me in my sense of activism and a sense of possibility. But I think your question is really important right now when Donald Trump controls the White House and the House of Representatives and Congress and is pushing the powers of the presidency beyond any other president's ever done to the point of what I believe are authoritarian actions that are suppressing free speech, that are trashing our economy, making it harder for average people, kicking millions off of healthcare. Like, what can we do right now? And so for me, it's an election year. I'm not going to lose sight that tomorrow's elections are won by what you do today, is doing everything we can to prepare to try to win in the midterms. But I always tell people, and I tell Democrats this especially.
And the 2025 off-year elections were, I think, a hopeful sign.
In New Jersey.
Across the board.
Yes, we had big elections in New Jersey. And elections where everybody says it was going to be 1, 2, or 3 points.
Yeah.
We blew them out of the water. And I think it's because our gubernatorial candidate really spoke not just to how bad Trump is, but gave a vision for what we can do as a nation forward. And I think we make that mistake as Democrats by talking about what we're against and not what we're for. And this is why I remind people that some of my greatest heroes, his pictures up on my wall, Martin Luther King, when he stood on the March on Washington, he didn't unfurl a list of grievances against Bull Connor or George Wallace. He actually used that moral moment to paint a picture, to call to the moral imagination of a country. And I really think that we have got to start doing that as a society, not just pointing out the darkness, which is obvious, self-evident in some ways, but start to say, well, who can we be as a society? Because even before Donald Trump was elected, in neighborhoods like the one I live in, people were still working harder and earning less than their parents. We still had people declaring bankruptcy because they couldn't afford their health care. What's the vision for our country, not for the Democratic Party, but for our country, to make those things possible? And I think whatever that vision is, it has to start with having a real conversation about why politics has become so corrupted. Why is it that corporate lobbyist money is dumped on this place? I think I was the 4th Democrat to do it here in the Senate, but we should end the Citizens United corruption, and part of that, not allow PACs and super PACs corporate PACs to be contributing to politicians.
Agree.
I think we should stop politicians from trading stocks. All the things that make people lose trust in government that both parties are doing, we've got to start. That has to be a pillar of a vision for the future, is end this nightmare where billionaires and massive corporations can so heavily influence our politics and give power back to the people in terms of their speech rights, their voting rights, and their ability to affect Congress. Number two, something has gone terribly wrong with the fact that half of this country can't afford this country anymore.
Yeah.
Where if you're born in poverty in America, it's one of the worst countries now amongst our peer nations to be born into, to get out of poverty. It's stickier here. Why is that? And I would say it starts with the fact that our tax code now benefits the wealthiest of wealthy, as Donald Trump and Republicans have continued to push tax breaks up, and more of the people of our country bear the burden. Here's something that really should anger people. A police officer, somebody who joins the military, a teacher, a construction worker pay higher taxes in terms of the percentage of their income than the wealthiest of wealthy, who benefit from carried interest and other things that drive their tax rates down. Whether big corporations from Meta to Amazon pay lower taxes than a school teacher does. That is a perverse reality. And so I have some ideas that we're going to throw out there. Something simple, like, I don't care who you are in America, you shouldn't pay taxes on your first $70,000 income taxes. You're already paying regressive taxes when you buy a beer or you go to pay for gas. But let's start doing things that lift up everybody's earnings to make sure that more people have more money. And then do the real things about the cost of childcare or the cost of buying a home, which there's a lot we can do. Until we can have that conversation with people, I think we are going to lose the ability to begin to create a vision that we could achieve. So the first is ending corruption. The second is making this country affordable again. And the third thing is how hard it is to raise a family in America right now. And I think that's a core part of the American dream, is I'm going to have kids and they're going to have a better life than me. And I think there's a lot of things we can do on paid family leave, access to health care, access to great education, that we can start talking about having children and making that process something that's more inviting as our birth rate goes down. And you talk to more young families who just say it's too expensive to have kids, or when I do, I can't afford it.
I hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry to go on so long with sort of a policy vision, but I think we lose that.
It's important to cover, and that's a funny thing, because, you can go a long way down that policy talk and eyes glaze over because people feel so put upon right in the moment. And you have a reputation for going across party lines for sure and getting things done and being pragmatic. But it's not functioning in a way that I think the people appreciate right now.
And I think that I even get tired. We were talking about earlier, I spend a lot of time looking at social media, getting inspired, but also getting frustrated because I think that, it's easy to talk about what you're against, but we should start talking about what we're for more.
Agreed.
And Donald Trump wants to be the main character in this chapter of America. I don't want Donald Trump to be the main chapter of this. Obviously we need to deal with it, but I want the main chapter to be really about we the people and what we're striving for.
Agreed. And speaking of authoritarianism, it has made everyone in this country less safe. We are fearful for our neighbors, and should ICE ever come to our town, can you speak to what we're doing to hold them accountable? Obviously, I think you get them to court where they have to tell the truth. That's one thing. But what else can we do to hold them accountable? And like right there in the streets.
So I oversaw a police department where we really had to confront the practices, procedures, and policies we had placed, and how in many ways they were creating conditions that were making us less safe, and how we had to increase professional standards, create more systems of accountability. And great police officers, and I've served with a lot, invite accountability, and they fight for higher standards. So what Donald Trump has done with his immigration enforcement, besides the policies that you and I would disagree with, they're not going after violent felons. They're they're tearing apart families, taking parents away from American children. They're going to churches, high schools, hospitals,
running businesses into the ground out of fear.
Exactly. I mean, there's one of my colleagues, Mark Kelly, was telling me about somebody they arrested who had been in this country for 25 years, has a business employing many Americans, and now they're pulling those But the other thing that I think we see in Minneapolis is how training and professional standards, how the absence of those creates an environment where horrific things happen. And so I've been sending letters to ICE and the Department of Homeland Security for months now, demanding them tell us what their training procedures, which we haven't gotten responses to still, but we have looked at a lot of what they're doing, and I've begun introducing lots of legislation that is not sort of a reach. These are the practices of great police organizations, from sheriffs to police departments, that ICE is not doing. In fact, since Donald Trump has began, he has diluted professional standards and lessened training. So let me give you some examples. We've said right away, this covering your face, no police officers do that around our country. It's just not something that's done at the local, state, or even other federal agents. Covering your face, having no ability to see any kind of insignia. It's already created an environment where in many places you have seen instances now where people pretend that they're ICE in order to do crimes. That creates a horrible environment. If somebody's approaching me, and I've seen this from right-wing Second Amendment types, if you're coming into my house, I don't see, you say you're law enforcement, I see nothing about you, that creates conditions for bad things to happen. Number two, an accountability practice is having cameras that are not you're holding up your phone, but cameras that are putting into a database that can't be altered. It creates a better form of accountability. In my local police departments in New Jersey, many of them first fought that. Now they like it because it actually protects them as much does the citizens. We're continuing to go. We see now that they have lessered their training. You want people to go into their police academy or what have you. They've gone from having 5 months now to 47 days. And we've been told by officers that the reason why it's 47, odd number, because in honor of the 47th president. Well, 47 days of training is not enough. Their background checks on the people that they're hiring have been watered down as well. So you've got people entering an academy who are members of hate groups or who have had drug infractions and others that might disqualify them. They've lowered the age to 18 years old, somebody coming right out of high school. They've lowered the educational standards. So here we're watering down the standards. They're rushing the hiring. They're lowering the training. They don't have what is now commonplace forms of accountability. All these things create, to me, a force in which bad things can happen very often.
So in terms of legislation, though, what measures can be put in place to ensure accountability?
So I've already introduced a legislation to force them to show their insignia and better identify themselves without masks, called the Visible Act. I did that with Alex Padilla.
Yes.
I've done things when they do horribly bad things, like violate people's fundamental civil rights, a homicide or something like that, that they don't have immunity protections, which they should have in many ways for other in the line of duty activities. But when you go such egregious and you do such a violation, there should be better accountability standards. And now we're introducing legislation to make sure that there are high standards of training and conduct. And I say high, more in line with other law enforcement agencies that are considered standard. That's very, very important. The body camera legislation is very important.
That's
that's not something that they can alter that's something that's recorded when they're doing community-facing events. That body camera is going as well. And so for me, as somebody who's led on police accountability issues in the Senate, it's very important that we stop talking about commonplace legislation, put it into practice, because other states, from red states to blue states, have done this years ago now to raise standards and to avoid these tragic incidents.
Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Are you kidding me? Thank you.
One last question.
Please.
So you've gotten married after being a lifelong bachelor.
I have.
And you had said that Alex has helped ground and center your inner life. So for someone who's in public office, what is it like to have that center at home?
So I was one of these guys, got into my 50s, still single, but thought I was, I'm a meditator, I pray, I work out. I thought I had cultivated a very good inner life. But when Alexis moved in with me in April, and we got married engaged in August, married in November, I felt like I had my whole world expanded, because there's something really grounding, and I feel more whole as a human being from having her in my life, humbling me, teaching me that when you commit to someone at that level, you immediately get like a much deeper connection and that deeper grounding that comes. So the richness of my life in this last year has been almost emotionally overwhelmingly how much I realize I've missed out.
Yeah.
And I think as a bachelor, I was playing a very low stake game, and as a guy who's played sports and some other things, that stepping up, I think, to this commitment has, and to such a great friend and wife, it's just made me feel so much more fulfilled at a level that I didn't think possible. And now you know this and I don't, because we hope to have kids. My friends tell me, you think this is amazing, wait until you have children.
It is a different kind of love. It
Yeah.
is. It's indescribable. And I wish you great fortune in that area too.
Thank you. I asked a lot of my male
Appreciate
friends,
it. Yeah.
because I try to ask questions that go deeper, and I always say, what's the most fulfilling part of your life?
Yeah.
And very often, very rarely do I get jobs. And the most common answer is guys will tell me they're kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. It's the whole reason I'm doing this, for posterity, so they have something to look back upon, honestly, and so that they can, be proud of dad fighting for the right side of history. That's kind of what it's all about for me.
Yeah. Well, I think your kids will be proud of you in the future. I don't know, your parents are still alive?
Yeah, my mom is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she's...
Yeah, she's doing great. Yeah, she is. So let's cook together, please.
I would love that.
All right,
I
let's
would
make
love
it
that.
happen.